Hello and welcome to the dark side. So, for those of you that are like, oh my goodness, she's on again, but this is the last dark side project for this year 2020. We have come to the last one of the year. So, this is the Coming Storm.
What's up?
There it is. It's me and your girl, Tabitha Purple. We are doing the dark side this evening. We are looking really at a recap of 2020. I thought it would be really good to just round off the year with a conversation with me and the Stormy over here, and just see like what were our highlights, some of the reasons we got into the dark side, and how we see it going for 2021. So I guess the major question is, how did the dark side come into being? And so that's a funny story. It's not really a dark side story, I guess. It's a funny story. But so Mother's Day 2020 was really different. Can you remember all the way back to Mother's Day in May? And basically we were in lockdown. You can't get out and see, parents, grandparents, Omars. There is no kind of getting around and seeing everyone. So it was the first, like, after Easter, it was like the first big event where the whole, like, because Easter kind of really Christian people really got affected by, but Mother's Day was the first event where it went kind of global. Everyone realized that life had changed in some life altering moment. And so the church that I work in with my colleagues, we put on this massive program for the weekend, and I was behind the scenes doing loads and loads of work, but I hadn't actually like been in the front. So they were all doing this, and I was like pushing and promoting and working out and doing all the stuff, but I hadn't actually led anything because it's all happening in my second language. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I feel confident, so I'll just give you all the materials and give you the props, and you go forward and have fun. And then I came up with this idea, like, we'll do the dark side of Mother's Day, which I thought was going to be funny. So I originally, can you believe it, Come and Storm? I originally thought that the dark side would be funny. Oh, how wrong I've been. Have there been any funny dark sides thus far? No.
Well, do you know what? That's hard for me to answer because I have a very dark sense of humor anyway. So
We have laughed on the dark side, that's for sure, but they've not really been a roller coaster of funny things. So I thought it would be like this alternative look at Mother's Day. We'd talk about how Mother's Day can be this really narcissistic holiday, when it's really not about mums. You get up and you get given dodgy food that the kids have tried to cobble together, and then everyone's poking and prodding you all day, and actually you just want to hide in your bed. And I have a very blessed family, so like my husband gets up and he doesn't let the kids ruin my breakfast, and he brings it to me in bed. So I'm very, very blessed on this grand scheme of things, and I get to lie in my bed, and then the children all climb in and make it all about them, because Mother's Day is really about the children, isn't it? It's not really about the mother. Much like Father's Day, I hear.
I just want to say that your husband sounds like a really good guy.
He's not bad, he's not bad. He's all right. Let's not give him too big a head though, so we'll keep moving past that point. And so I thought it would be like share funny stories. And oh my goodness, I started this live stream on Instagram Live. That's where we started. And I was like really excited to be there. And I was like, okay, let's go. We're going to do the dark side of Mother's Day. And within, I think, maybe 3 minutes of me being online, it took a really dark turn really quickly. And then I realized I was in for a roller coaster. And I was like, oh, this is really the dark side of Mother's Day. People were sharing stories and really opening their hearts and trusting me with these, heartfelt stories of loss during Mother's Day, losing children, losing parents. And I was like, whoa, this is a really dark side of Mother's Day that we don't talk about, is the loss and the otherness that people feel. And so we started to look at some of the other aspects of being on such a national, worldwide international holiday when everybody's about mums, but maybe you didn't choose for that. You didn't choose to be a mum, and then people start judging you and looking at you. And so that's how the dark side was born. And I thought it was a one-time thing, and I kind of just closed down Instagram, was like, yep, I'm good. It was really great being with you. And then I started getting messages, what are we doing next week? Can you do this topic? And I was like, oh, the dark side of another topic. I thought, oh, yeah, I can do that. And it just snowballed and grew from there until we're at this point. For me, the dark side has a dark side. So it's been emotionally really difficult to do the dark side. It's exposed me to painful situations. I've been on a roller coaster with the dark side. There is definitely a cost that comes with doing a program like this, and I've paid that cost, and I'm still paying that cost. When you publicly say things, when you put information out there, then it can come back and bite you in the backside, and that has definitely happened with the dark side. So that's definitely been my experience thus far. So if you have an experience, please share it with us. What was your favorite dark side? What were some of the highlights for you? What are some of the things that it maybe encouraged you to think differently? That's been the positives. So the positive thing is the feedback that people give us, particularly about where they've been challenged to think differently about a subject and maybe hadn't thought about it in that way. So that's been one of the biggest positives that I think have really come out of doing the dark side, is the great feedback that you guys give us. And we just really encourage you to keep giving us feedback, post it in the comments, tell us what you like. If you're watching this on replay, still post it in the comments so that we can come see and talk to you. Still give us the feedback, because we love having that feedback to know what the dark side means to you and why you enjoy watching, and share it with your friends, etc., etc. So, Mr. Storm, he doesn't like doing things on the fly, but this is kind of a recap edition. So here is the question. What have you enjoyed about the dark side?
Research.
The one thing you haven't been able to do this time. That's what you like about the dark side. Oh, stab me in my heart. Do you see what I mean, people? I'm still paying the price now for the dark side. It comes at a cost.
You asked the question. I always tell you, if you want to know the answer.
Oh, I want to know the answer. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when somebody gives you the answer. Like, you're acting like it's not supposed to hurt if somebody tells you the truth. That's a real thing. So I ask a question. I want to know the answer. That doesn't mean the answer doesn't hurt or have a consequence, right?
Okay, I'll take your word for that.
No, but isn't that true? Like, if you ask a question that you want to know the answer to and somebody gives you the answer, you can be happy you got the answer, but then you might not like it.
Okay, we see things very differently.
Well, how do you see that then, dear?
If something's true, why are you getting upset about it? It is what it is. If it's not true, why are you getting upset about it? It's not true.
Yeah, nobody's in neutral like you. I have feelings.
I just don't understand it. But you see, this is why I can deal with trolls online. Because nothing you say to me is ever going to bother me.
Yeah, no, I'm not about the trolling life. I'm not about that. Don't troll me. I don't like it. Just leave me alone. I'm not interested. I will block you and move on. I'm not here for the discussion. Mr. Storm over here, on the other hand, he will spend time dissecting your discussion points. Really, I mean, if you want to have a good online discussion, if you like a really meaty, weighty online discussion, this coming Storm right here, just say something, ask him a question, make a statement, and then just watch him just enjoy it. Put that in the comments and then just watch him. I'll just tag him and then he'll have fun. This person here, no. If we're face to face, I like the talking and I'm a chatterbox. But if we're in the comment section, no way. I don't like that. Hey, did you notice I've got like a ticker going across the bottom? Did you see my new tech?
Yeah, I did. I did.
I know, right? Every time something new. Look at me. It's so cool. I was so impressed myself. All right. So, okay. So what you've liked is the research. Okay. So what's been some of your favorite research subjects that we've done? Because you've done loads of research, more than we can have on the show.
Listen, I can't remember.
All right, so I'm going to give you one that I really enjoyed. So this one stood out to me. This wasn't with you, but this was with Dr. Jason O'Rourke. So I don't know if do you remember that one? Well, we had Dr. Jason O'Rourke come on, and we did the dark side of Black Lives Matter movement.
Okay,
and yeah, for me, that was so brilliant because it was the best of what we do on the dark side. It was really well researched. He really took the time to take seriously people's fears, but also to knock them out of the water and be like, okay, this is just ridiculous, but in a really kind, I mean, he's got a really kind way of doing it. And just kill people with information. So for me, one of the highlights was definitely doing the dark side with Dr. Jason O'Rourke. If you haven't seen that, it's over on Instagram. So we suggest you go back and have a look at that. I think it turned into like a 2-hour special. It was a longer one. We had to restart the video. So now we have new technology. You can watch it in one go. But back then we were on Instagram, 1 hour limits, can't see the time, don't know what's happening. Yeah, that was a whole different time.
Listen, I wish I could tell you, but I'm like, I barely remember what I did yesterday. So asking me what I did weeks ago is just, yeah. And here's the funny thing. If you start talking to me about a subject, all the research I did will start coming out. I just don't remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's a funny one. So we did the dark side of vaccinations, last week was that? That was the dark side of vaccinations. Yeah. I think that was last week.
Yeah, maybe.
And what's been really interesting is the feedback we've gotten and some of the people like sending additional information. Have you been getting the WhatsApps of additional information?
I have.
Like, it's crazy. How many people are like, yeah, so you did the dark side of vaccinations. Here's more information. And I'm like, no, we did it. We're not doing it again. Like, we said what we had to say. But it's an ongoing debate. It's really kind of interesting to see how that was a really current event and how difficult people find it grappling with something in the current tense. Like, because there's no right, wrong, good, bad, they're trying to make it fit into this binary black and white. And there isn't a binary black and white with vaccinations. That's not how it works. There's gray area, and it's a gradient of gray. You just have to work out where you stand within the gray.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. See, I think there is a right and wrong when it comes to vaccinations. And vaccinations are good.
Well, yeah, okay.
There is a right. The problem is, the process through which vaccinations come through. As I said, especially talking about this one for the COVID-19, in which the long-term effects are not known, haven't been studied. These are the things that come about. But, you've got people that just turn around and say, no, vaccinations are bad, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
No. And I'd say they are on the wrong side of things.
Well, that's true. I guess what I meant is because I automatically, like, everyone should have watched our one on vaccinations and know that we're not anti-vaxxers. So in terms of taking vaccinations or having vaccinations, vaccinations are good things. Have wiped out diseases. They're amazing things. And, a lot of good scientists have done a lot of work on these things. And people have a lot of good will and have done, endless hours of research, countless parts of their life have been given over to this so that we can eradicate certain illnesses. But I think it's always interesting to see that people, we're in shared groups online where people have tried to make it like you can't say anything, like you can't question whether someone would take this vaccine or not. That would be deemed wrong, morally wrong. And I'm like, well, come on now, let's dial that back. And I think I remember the most startling thing in terms of research, like what you were talking about, is the fact that the last pandemic we had, well, it's not pandemic, but the last big scare that we had was the swine flu. And the vaccination for that, which was only is within the last 10 years we had that. The vaccination was removed 3 years in because people developed narcolepsy. And I was really shocked to find that out because that was really huge back then. Like, it was massive news in our home country. It was crazy. And to think it kind of just flew under the radar. And then when you're doing the research to try and find out other information, that's when this surfaces that there is this dark side of vaccination. So that was interesting. And I think it's a good point that you bring out that the research is the fun part.
Yeah. Actually, I think I remember one I enjoyed. I think that was the dark side of protesting?
Right. Yes. Yeah, the dark side of the protest. Yes.
Yeah. I think that was one that I enjoyed doing. Yeah, it was insightful for me, that one,
Yeah.
doing the research on that one.
And we haven't even fully done that range of subjects, have we? Because there was the dark side of the protest, and that was really interesting and good. But then there were other things that came out from protesting, like your experiences about going to different protests and how the call for justice rang out across a various number of issues. And that insight that you gave me into, if I want justice for my cause, I can't stay silent on yours. Like, it has to be for all or it's for none. Like, it doesn't work if it's just for me. It has to be for all of us. And I was really struck by that, because I think for me, that's a really poignant point, that sometimes we can be so focused on our issue that it's to the exclusion and detriment of other people.
Yeah. I think for me, the insightful one on that for me was the fact that protest, or what people would deem to be riots, is actually a form of community protection.
Mm.
And I think once you start to view riots in that way,
right,
and it's actually a form of community protection, that actually it changes the whole conversation and narrative around what's happening.
Yeah.
The research has been done, and the different criteria are met for riots, and who the violence is aimed at, and different things like that. It's not just random. Once you start looking at it through that lens, then you have to start asking the questions, or you have to say to yourselves, if you're truly interested in truth and justice, that you need to sit down and start listening. Because if this is a form of community protection, why is that community feeling threatened to respond in this way?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that still resonates with me. I mean, like, hearing you say that, I feel like I'm hearing it again for the first time and being like, yeah, because I think when we see the media reports, we've lived through what people would term riots. I remember living through riots in London. In North London, we had riots surrounding different events, really huge. And every time they happened, one of the things that struck me is that there was always this element of threat. It wasn't that the people rioted because they were just, scandalously criminal, as the media would portray it. It was that they were threatened, that their lives were on the line, that people felt like they were suffocating or dying, and there was evidence that an injustice had happened to that effect, and therefore they rioted to kind of almost protect themselves from that incident, from it happening to all of us. It happened to one, so it could happen to all. It happened to two, so it could happen to anyone. And that idea that all they are is criminals, these criminals coming out, and it always struck me from the time I was young, living through what people would term, some huge riots in London, that actually I always thought about it differently, because I think it hurt in a different way. These were people I knew, and I knew that they were out because they were scared. A lot of times they were just scared, and they just didn't want that to happen to anyone else that they knew. It comes out of the motivation isn't criminal activity. The motivation is often fear of life. Like, I don't want that to be a recurring story. So we need to do something to stop you invading, hurting, killing our people.
Yep.
So 2020 is drawing to a close. A lot of people are saying, oh, thank God, we're really glad it's going to be over. This was horrible. We just can't wait. Let's dig into 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so how are you feeling about this? Because I think that's the real dark side of this year. I'm like, that's not how I feel.
What's going to be different next year? COVID's still going to be here.
Right?
Boris Johnson will still be in power.
Oh.
I guess Trump will be gone.
Woohoo!
But you've still got a bunch of
far right extremists, crazy people.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, right wingers, but yeah. We can call them far right, racist. Yeah, I'm on your show, so I'm going to be careful of what I say.
It's our show.
No,
on my channel.
it's your show. So yeah, I don't see much changing, or at least not for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reflecting on this. I've been going around and seeing lots of people over the last few days doing lots of work, but getting to see, final kind of goodbyes for the year, because rounding down to vacation period, when I always take a vacation at this time of the year. I know that sounds contrary for a pastor to do that, but we have family commitments that mean that I take a vacation at the end of the year with the family, and it's a commitment I've made to my family that they will have that time. Because, as you know, as a pastor, that, I am a working pastor with churches, which means that it's not just you on my online community. Some of you don't ever go to a church in your life, and this is the only time you see a pastor. But, this is the rounding down time for that work. And one of the things that's really struck me is how many people are like, good riddance, glad it's over, let's get to 2021. And I just keep thinking, but 2021, we're going to be in lockdown. There's going to be coronavirus, and we're all still going to be wearing masks, keeping social distance. It'll be a miracle if we get to the summer without at least, 3 more lockdowns before we get there, because although we have vaccines, and although people have started, that's a really long process. It's not an overnight process to vaccinate a population. And they're talking about, 60% of the population are needing to be vaccinated. And in some countries, 60% of the population won't take the vaccine. So you're looking at those odds. And that's a lot of people. Like, we're at 17 million in the Netherlands. So that's what, 8.5 million people need to be vaccinated. You're not going to get that done quickly. It's not a quick task. It's not going to happen overnight. So I just keep thinking, I think people are being really optimistic about 2021.
Well, I think they're being overly optimistic. One of the things that I said in one of the earlier streams when we were talking about this was the fact that there were at least 3 mutations that I knew about. You've got the now new one in London, so that'll be the 4th mutation in a year. So anyone who thinks that this thing is going to be over with come, next year, look.
We're just breaking the news to you gently. It's not going to happen.
Sucks to be you.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Just get used to it. And I think maybe there's a different way. So this is the dark side. So, of course, we look differently at a subject. That is the purpose of the dark side. But I think there really has to be a different way of looking at getting to the end of a year, which has no doubt been a roller coaster. If you told us at the beginning of 2020 that we would be homeschooling, that we would not be able to travel and see family or friends. We would not cross any country borders. We would not go anywhere, and we would just stay in our house. And that, you know, there'd be screens everywhere and masks on everyone. We'd have been like, no, that wouldn't have happened. But this is the year that we've had, and there's been a lot of loss. But in that, the human, hopeful, peaceful, resilient spirit has still reigned. Like, we had record numbers of people come out and protest for the lives of Black people. Like, that's something to come out of 2020 going, look, that's amazing. Like, record numbers of people around the world came out. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
and you know what? This is the dark side. So I'm going to give you the dark side. You're still going to have to do that next year.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to do it next year. But we can be, like, really pleased with ourselves, right? This is an alternative look at the end of the year. Everybody else is kind of really bummed about 2020. I think that 2020 wasn't as... How do I phrase this? 2020 was challenging and difficult, and if you lost someone due to Corona, it was certainly unexpected and hard. No doubt. I'm not minimizing that at all. But for the vast majority of people who didn't lose a loved one during this time, actually what it showed you was that it's possible to be resilient and do so, and to stand up for good things, you know, to stand up for the right things in the world and do what's right because it's the right thing to do. And it gave us that encouragement to do that. And a lot of people didn't. So there were protests about wearing masks. That's the right thing to do. There's a lot of people who were like, no, we're not going to do that, and protested it. But for all of us who, like, really put our effort into standing up for what's right, and there were thousands that stood with us, millions that stood with us, I think it's just, like, brilliant. Like, I don't want to forget that. I don't want to forget that we did that, because next year we're going to have to do it again. But I also think it's an achievement.
Okay.
I think I just got okay-deared, but that's okay. I think it's a good thing.
I just don't understand what people want. You want a cookie for doing the right thing? I just don't get it. You want to?
Well, I'm not asking for a cookie, but I think that we shouldn't forget that we did the right thing. Like, I think it's a good thing to be proud of going and doing the right thing. Like, you should remember it. Like, you shouldn't throw it out the window just because the year was rough. Had a rough year, going to throw out the window the idea of doing anything that's good, which I think it feels like a lot of people want to do. This year sucked, let's get rid of that year. Well, if we do that, then you're going to set race relations back again. We're going to continue to see the rise of far-right extremists and violence, and, you know, selfishness is going to continue to go up. You're going to have to remember 2020 so that you don't fall into that trap. That's what I think. I think you need to remember 2020 so that your selfishness can be kept in check. Like, we should all keep ourselves in check because of that. Like, do the thing. I don't need a cookie.
Yeah, but I don't see why I need to remember 2020 in order to do that.
Well, because you're like that kind of person who would do it anyway. But a lot of people, this was their first time. Because think about the record numbers of people protesting. This was their first time protesting for something that did not affect them.
Hmm.
So that happened in 2020. So I'm like, don't throw out 2020, because if you throw out 2020, we're throwing out the possibility that you could protest for something that's the right thing to protest for, even if it doesn't affect you. Like, even if you're not affected by it, let's not throw it out. That's what I think.
Okay, then.
Big learning curves. Well, you know. As always, put your comments in, because, you know, sometimes we may say stuff that you agree with or disagree with. Let us know which one of us you're agreeing with. Put them in the comments, write them below, wherever the comment section is on this particular device. All right, so we're rounding off, so we're not going to be on here for much longer. We're going to take our little cue to have a short one today, because both of us have had a long weekend of hard work. What do we have in store in 2021? What subjects would you like to see us cover? Is there something that's like, okay, somebody asked for the subject and you think, yeah, let's give the people an idea of what's on our minds?
Are you asking me, or are you asking people that watch?
I'm asking you, because firstly, you know, we do this together.
Okay. Look, listen, I'm just waiting to see what 2021 brings, because let's put it like this: I don't see things getting any better. You've got Brexit,
Oh,
and you've got that oven-ready deal, you know.
well, the oven-ready deal that meant that they've locked down all your planes in your country and told you you're not allowed to come into Europe. That oven-ready deal, yeah.
Listen, look. All I know is anyone that voted for Brexit needs their head checked, right? Um,
We're
but
going to be
you've got
talking about
Brexit.
this next year.
You've got Brexit. You've got the
Yeah.
fact that we're still dealing with a COVID-19 um, reality, and I think we have yet to see the real social impact of it until we get back into March or so, because we are coming up to, within the Western Hemisphere in particular, a real this is
This is the
suicide
hard
season.
Yeah.
This is suicide season we're now entering into.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of things coming up. The fact that I expect within the UK there to be real hardship due to Brexit, and the conversations of how do people survive, because the economy is going to take it. Well, it already has taken a hit, but it's going to take a further hit.
Yeah.
About loss of jobs, government ministers over there have already spoken about food shortages, and it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. The fact that the US have pretty much told the UK, look, you're at the back of the line when it comes to a trade deal. We didn't want you to leave the EU. So you've got all of these things, but we still got to see how Trump leaves the White House. My money is on the fact that he won't be there on Inauguration Day. He will have.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to flee the country, right, before they arrest
You think that's what's going to happen? So I've been curious. Are they going to have to carry him out? Are they going to have to arrest him to get him out? Like, what are they going to do?
Oh, bro, you think I'm talking about arresting him to get him out? I'm talking about arresting him on charges, criminal charges.
Oh, yeah, because he's got a case in New York. You keep telling
New
me about,
York
right?
are asking for quite a few things.
Yeah.
And California too, if I recall correctly. So, and look, he can pardon all he wants, but he can't pardon himself for state crimes. So the real question is he going to hang around to see what happens then? There's just so many other things. There's, will we start to see effects or side effects from the vaccinations?
Yeah, gosh.
As I said, there are so many things. Yeah.
Next year's looking like it's going to be a right roller coaster.
That's it. I just expect more of the same.
Yeah. No, I think that's going to be a challenge. I'm probably it's really interesting that I do the dark side, because of course I'm the bright, optimistic one. So it's quite ironic. The irony is not lost on me that I host a program on the lovely internet called The Dark Side, where we look at kind of real alternatives and dig in behind the facade of things. So I expect on a personal level then that I think next year is going to be kind of exhausting for most people. I think a lot of people are going into this Christmas vacation period hoping that next year will be this huge turning point at the new year, that something will break, change, happen, that they can get back on with their lives. And what I really hope, or what I hope doesn't happen, is that people lose hope. Like I hope they don't lose hope, because we are in suicide season. We are, it's a difficult time in the Western Hemisphere. People really struggle with loneliness at this time. They really struggle with, just feelings of disappointment, etc., and unworthiness, and all sorts of things at this time of year. As the new year kind of kicks in and they realize, oh, we've got to make New Year's resolutions again, and I didn't keep the resolutions from last year or whatever. People don't seem to know how to break those habits. Instead, those things tend to break people. And so I think I hope, I'm doing a rediscovering Christmas and looking at hope, peace, joy, love with Veronica Williams every evening this week. So I hope that people really try to break those habits in a different way and it doesn't break them. What I think I see, unfortunately, is that we're going to be dealing with a lot of pain next year. People are going to be hurting and we're going to have to be picking up the pieces, at least in my field of work. There's going to be a lot of picking up the pieces and taking people along to see their psychiatrists and psychologists and getting them into counseling programs and trying to encourage people to look after their mental well-being. So I see mental health is going to be the big kind of reoccurring theme next year. That's what I see as one of the big ones.
We did do a Darkside show on mental health.
Oh, did we? I got to write down all the topics we've done. Go back and make sure I've got them all listed somewhere so that we can do it properly. The dark side of mental health issues, yeah.
Maybe we didn't. Maybe we didn't.
I'm not sure. I think it was on our list of things to do. I know the mental health one was on our list of things to do. Colorism was on our list of things to do. The dark side of the protest, LGBTQIA was on our list of things to do. So there's a few things that I think are going to come up, as you say, as reoccurring themes next year. And, if you watch the show, you know that we are both activists. We both believe in speaking for those who are marginalized, believe in doing the right thing. We both have been involved in protests, but also in work educating people on diversity, inclusion, and belonging. We believe very much in that. So I guess the dark side always has that undertone that we look at issues and we take into account race, culture, gender, and all of those, mental health, all of those marginalized people issues where people feel like they're on the outside edge. And that's something we really try to bring people into the center in the show.
Yeah, what she said.
I couldn't tell if you were frozen for a hot second. I was like, is he frozen? He's so still. Like, what is happening? All right, folks. Well, I think we've come to the end of the dark side for this year. We are really, really, really happy that you chose us to continue doing this, that you watch the show, that you give us feedback. Please continue to comment. If you have a subject that you want us to do in 2021, that's really important. Please, please, please comment so that we can see that. Share the video, share some of the
make it interesting.
Yeah, give us some really interesting topics. He said that his favorite thing about the dark side is the fact that he gets to research. He's not lying. So give us subjects that we really have to dig into and research, because he will be delighted. I will have a headache. He will be happy. It will be great. It's going to be fabulous. So we're going to see you in 2021, the second Sunday in 2021. The first Sunday is my vacation Sunday. So I'm just letting you know I have 2 weeks where we're not going to be together, and we're going to see you the second Sunday in 2021, 9 p.m. Central European time. We wish you and your family a blessed, hopeful, dark side free Christmas and New Year.
What she said.
Okay, good. All right, peace. Peace out, people. We'll see you soon. Have a good one.